What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mike and Ant podcast. I am one half of Mike and Ant, and I'm with the other half, Mike. What's good?
Chilling, man, chilling. I'm excited. Sounds like we gonna get the Supersonics back in the NBA. Let's dive
Yeah,
into this.
so, yeah. So Commissioner Adam Silver announced this week that they are planning on expanding the NBA. So they're gonna follow the NFL model and expand from 30 teams to 32 teams. And the 30 owners, are gonna vote for it in March, which is next month. Actually, just 2 weeks from now. But they're gonna vote on it in March, and if it passes, then both Seattle and Vegas, they'll be the two new teams, and they will start play as early as 2027, which will be next year. So, now, Mike's, what's your thoughts on Seattle and Vegas possibly getting a NBA franchise as
Oh,
early as next year?
Vegas is intriguing because that's like a start from scratch situation, something completely new. I guess Seattle technically could start from scratch, but if they don't bring back the Sonics, this would be an all-time fail in NBA history because everybody, not everybody, but for a long time, people been yelling for the Sonics to come back. Some people don't even understand why they left. So let's just chalk it up and say that the Sonics should be back and hopefully they will be back. But Vegas intrigues me because this is a whole new franchise we're going to get from the ground up. I'm interested. I told you off air. I want to see the process of if they're going to leave the same method in place that they did their last time they did an expansion, or if they add a few new twists and they let us know about them if everything goes through, assuming they get the votes passed. Um, because it's been years. You probably have the date, or you probably know better than me. You're the stat guy. You know you got this, brother. But as far as the last time they brought an expansion, but you would think it's been long enough for them to adjust a few of them rules and maybe help them get a little bit better quicker.
Yeah, the last time was 2004 with the Charlotte Bobcats, aka the Charlotte Hornets. And then to the your thing about the Sonics, I'm with you. I hope they do get the name Sonics back, but it is up to the OKC Thunder because they own the rights to the Sonics name and history if they're willing to give that up, and I hope they do because they're
Yeah.
not doing anything with it.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair without being too critical. I I haven't seen Sean Kemp and Gary Payton doing too much for the OKC team or promoting them like they feel like they're part of that franchise. It's time to give the Sonics their franchise back. If OKC doesn't understand that, that's silly to me. The commissioner should probably step in and find a way to mediate that. OKC don't need the Sonics history. It does nothing for them. It's not something they use, not the colors, not the name, not the history. To be fair, it's not promoted to them. They don't bring up Peyton and Kemp when they talk about the Thunder making it to finals. So,
Now, when they talk about their history, they talk about like KD and Westbrook and James Harden.
because that's their history, and that's fair. And I think it's time to give Seattle back their history.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, unfortunately too, it's the same owner. He's
Yeah,
the one that bought the Sonics
yeah,
like 20 years ago and decided to move them to Oklahoma, which still surprises me because you moved them to a small market, and we
yeah,
all know how NBA feels about small markets. And then for Vegas, I feel like this is the Raiders effect because the Raiders, they're kind of like the first team to like move to Vegas.
yeah,
And I mean, I know on the field they haven't been winning, but Mark Davis, he's like more than like quadruple the Raiders' worth.
yeah,
They're not one of the most like oh, what's the term? Like they're one of the most like highest ranked franchises as far as like worth. And
net
then
worth.
you have the Oakland A's that are moving up there too. I mean, moving down there, I should say. So the A's are moving down there, and then now the NBA is going to give them an expansion team. So
Yeah,
I think these other leagues are seeing like, okay, the Raiders, they've had success as far as making money, not so much winning. So let's go over there and try to get some of this money too. So we're gonna move the A's down there, and
yeah.
then now the NBA is like, instead of moving the team, we'll just put an expansion team out there.
Yeah, I also think that previous years, or just saying the past, people might have been hesitant to bring a team and have them in a in a party culture, like
Yeah.
with
Well, I
as
think
fr
more so the gambling.
yeah, that's what that I was being nice, right? But at the end of the day though, I think the Raiders got through, that Raiders we don't haven't seen Raiders people getting locked up in casinos and stuff, right?
Uh,
So
the only people I know that have gotten in trouble was, earlier in the season when the Cowboys played the Raiders and, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, they got in trouble hanging out at one of the casinos instead of, going to a team meeting.
and that yeah, but they ain't one of the people that's there. So that's another level of treachery, but I just think that I just want to see what Vegas does. I'm interested to see what they do with the colors, if they lean towards the A's, if they lean towards the Raiders, if they do something completely different. I'm intrigued. I just want
I think they should go, silver and black because their WNBA team is silver and black. Granted, they're owned by Mark Davis as well, so,
yeah,
Mark Davis keeping the colors consistent, but I like to
yeah,
see him go silver and black, have the Raiders, the Aces, and then the NBA team all have the same color.
yeah. It'd be nice. That wouldn't. The only problem is though, you got the Spurs. So
Oh, yes, right. Yeah, I forgot
so
about
that, and not saying you can't, kind of adjust it a little bit, maybe less gray or different, maybe a darker gray, um, more metallic or something. I don't know. There's things you could do, but I would like to see them go out on a limb and try something completely different. Everything, new colors, new everything. I just like I said, my main thing with this is I hope the votes get passed. The NBA needs a spark. Bringing the Sonics back and another new team, I think, can possibly do that. But I just want them to open up the box a little bit more when it comes to allowing them to build a team um a little bit faster than sometime maybe they did in the past with expansion teams, because you get a couple of bench players, a couple of people that people don't want. It's going to take a very long time to get a good team. You might want to tell people, look, here's what we're going to do. You can lock in everybody else unless it's like a max salary player. You know what I mean? Lock your contracts in, because if he's not paid, like, they might get sniped. And obviously, two teams ain't going to be able to rummage the NBA, but a couple of teams could. I would like to see a couple of teams actually lose good players and see these teams be able to compete earlier rather than later.
Well, I think though for a team to do well, like, early, I
Yeah,
think too it's up to the GM of any of these teams to draft
yeah.
well. 'Cause, like,
Oh, for
first
sure.
I thought of was the Toronto Raptors. They were an expansion team, but they had success early on
Yeah.
because they hit on Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady. So you gotta draft well too and hit on these draft picks.
I agree. If some of them, and it comes down to the NBA is more of like a first round heavy draft. But you gotta hit some of those second round picks, and that's what it comes down to. If some of these teams want to really be successful early, you gotta scout these players that are gonna be available, find players that are gonna fit a system that you want to run, and you gotta draft extremely well, because you're right. If they go off of the regular method, your stars are gonna have to be found in the draft, and you could find stars late in the draft if you draft right.
Alright, and then, the next question though, is, who do you think should move to the Eastern Conference? They're saying the favorites right now is either gonna be Memphis or Minnesota. Well,
I'm
I think it
listening,
should
bro.
be oh, no, I was gonna say, they said that for the Eastern Conference, right now there's, 15 teams in each conference. So if they add 2 more, they'll, give the Western Conference 17 teams, the East 15, so to even it out, 1 Western Conference team has to move east, and so they're saying the favorites right now have to be Minnesota or Memphis, and I think, even though Memphis makes the most sense because Tennessee is closer east than it is west, but I think Minnesota should be the team to move because you already have Chicago, Detroit, and Milwaukee. in the Eastern Conference, you might as well put Minnesota there because they're all those states are like, close together. And
Yeah,
you see it in football, Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago, and Minnesota, they're all in the same division. So I
yeah,
think the NBA should follow that same model, and you could build up new rivalries with the whole, Midwest right there with Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, and then now add Minnesota.
yeah.
We've seen in other sports that those 4 states don't like each other, so the NBA could piggyback off of that and add Minnesota to the East and put them with those teams.
I do you one better, right? Um, when the Grizzlies wanted to trade John Morant, one of the teams he preferred to go to was the Minnesota Timberwolves. I say send John Morant to Minnesota and send them two young men to the Eastern Conference. That's absolutely my pick. That's what I like to see happen because I would like to see Edwards specifically, and obviously I'm a big fan of Ja too, but I would like to see Edwards specifically, right? In a finals being able to match up with some of those powerhouses in the Western Conference instead of having to go through them to get there.
Yeah, because that's a good point too. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, if you put Minnesota in the East, they automatic. I mean, they're already contenders in the West, but you put them in the East, they got to be one of the favorites to go to the finals because the Eastern Conference,
Hmm.
especially this year, is really a three-team race
Yeah,
between Detroit, New York, and Boston.
yeah. And you put them over there, they're definitely one of the top three favorites, no matter how you slice the pie. So
At least, I mean, I don't know if they're better than Detroit, Boston, and New York, but they'll at least be in the top four to be in the conversation.
yeah, I'd say like this in a 7 game series, and obviously remember I'm factoring in if they could pull off the John Morant trade.
Yeah.
That's what I'm factoring in. And then by then Tatum will be back. We'll see how it goes. But in a 7 game series, I like my chances if I have John Morant and Anthony Edwards.
Oh, same. Like I said, I agree 100% with you. And like I said, Minnesota, they're contenders in the West without John Morant. So you add
Yeah,
John Morant to that roster, and you put him in the weaker East.
yeah,
Watch out.
yes, it'd
And I
be
will
dang.
say though, Detroit though, they're up and coming. They're a young team. They're hungry, and those boys like to fight. Literally.
Oh, Detroit ain't playing. They take after their ancestors.
Yeah,
Apparently,
bad boys.
yeah. So they know what they're doing.
I
Detroit.
love, that fight they had last week with Charlotte. I love what, he did get suspended for 7 games, but I love what he said. He's like, "You know why I'm on the team. Like,
Yeah.
this is what I do."
Well, the thing is this: Detroit has only had their era was when they was feisty, they didn't take no shit, and they played their asses off.
And that's how
This
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 team is right here.
yeah, this team, don't get me wrong, they got the year with Hamilton and Ben Wallace, like they had other, but that wasn't the bad boys. That was just like a real good
They
team. But
did have the Malice in the Palace though, that
yeah,
era.
yeah, this is true. This is true. And Ben Wallace was the one that was like that guy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But um this Pistons looks like it has like different potential. Like I like they got to keep their core young people together. And the unfortunate truth is a lot of the times and you would think Detroit's a big market, but a lot of the time teams like the Pistons just they don't keep their young core guys together. They let them leave. So we'll see what
Well,
happens.
yeah, Detroit's it's a big market, but, historically, at least with the Pistons anyway, historically, they get I won't say they get treated like a small market, but
Yeah.
they don't really get the respect because like, they're known for, they're a defensive team. That's what they're known for is defense.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, I wasn't around in the '80s with the Bad Boys, but, like, the 2000s with, Chauncey and Rip and, Rashid and Ben Wallace, like, those games were I mean, I love watching them, but I think to the average fan, they're kinda boring 'cause they were beating teams, like, 80 to 69, or it was, like, 72 to, like, 68. Like, there was no scoring, it was just all defense. Like, I remember in the finals, they held Shaq and Kobe to, like, 50 points in 58 points in one game. Like, you couldn't score on that team. But this team, I mean, they got a superstar too in Cade Cunningham, so, I mean, that could make teams want it, but I will say the Pistons, though, they do a good job, I disagree with you. Like I think they do keep their players because like Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, they all played there for like 10 plus years back in the day. And then I think Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars, they played their whole careers there too.
Yeah,
But yeah, for whoever team moves east, though, I think it should be Minnesota. Even though logistically, I think Memphis makes more sense. Because Tennessee is really in the southeast. They're close to Georgia, so I don't even know why they put them in the Western Conference to begin with.
I agree. And apologize for zoning out for a second. My daughter shooting Texas
It's
from
all good.
outside the crib. It's like, yo, just come up. I'll talk to you in a second. But you're right, Dumas, Isaiah, like that team, young Dennis Rodman, I think it was like Bill Lambert. They listen,
Yeah, Rick
they was out,
Mahorn.
yo, they was out there trying to take people out, man. Like
Yeah,
you
back when you can like clothesline motherfuckers in the NBA.
yeah, just listen, I'm checking. They was doing all types of shit back then. I don't know if you've seen the Rodman um interview when he was comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron, and people saying that Jordan, wouldn't dominate this game. Bro, he gives you the real. Just watch. That's like a 30 to 60 second short, and it's the best take y'all ever get when it comes to comparing Michael Jordan versus LeBron James.
Yeah, it's like I think one things that we lose as fans is that we don't take into account that the rules were different back then.
Yeah,
I was watching a podcast the other day, and they were talking about Joe Namath and how like people always say Joe Namath is like the most overrated player in the Hall of Fame.
yeah,
But then he was like, if you talk to those guys that played back in the '60s, they all say like Joe Namath was one of the greatest quarterbacks they ever played against. And we
yeah,
look at the stats of Joe Namath, but then we also forget that back in the '60s, like, you were allowed to kill people, and so it
yeah.
was hard to get a pass.
And it
So
wasn't
it
fair.
made sense that he threw so many interceptions, but at the same time, he was throwing for 4,000 yards when nobody else was doing that back then.
It also wasn't really a passing league. It was
Yeah,
more just like a grind league, just grind down the field. It wasn't the flashy league that, and mind you, I wasn't there for that era, but I've done enough homework on it to watched enough of that footage to see it wasn't a pretty game. It wasn't
uh,
flashy. Joe Namath came with pizzazz and made it flashy and guarantees and mink coats, and like that's where a lot of people got that swag from. Like had he not did that, maybe you wouldn't see all the accessories and all the other things that that brings swagger to the game, because he was the one that kind of, maybe there's someone before him, but as far as like what I've seen just deep diving, he was the one that came and brought swagger to that podium when he did interviews and when you asked him his questions.
I think it's fair to say he was probably like the first superstar we've seen in football.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, there was like players before him, but also too, like I think back in the '60s, that was like the first time people actually had like TV, so you actually got to see people.
yeah,
Before that, everything was on the radio, so it was hard to have that swag when nobody could see you. You could just listen to him. So Joe Namath came at the right time where like TV and shit was getting invented. He was able to have that swag.
yeah. I agree. Like I said, shout out to Joe. He's definitely at this point, a lot of people that's talking and doing things have probably never even actually seen a live game. Him, I know I didn't, but he's probably getting undervalued at this point. I mean, he's Joe Namath is one of the biggest names probably in football all time. I mean, it's hard to see that you got to that level of a superstar if you wasn't that good. It's almost just like he probably got devalued as the years went on and as bigger and better stats and things like that came on. But I think for his time, he there's a reason why he felt like he was the shit. He just didn't
Yeah,
feel
I
that.
think yeah, I think a lot of people we try to apply today's logic to what happened back in the '60s, but
Yeah,
it's like the game they played in the '60s was totally different than what we see today.
yep, that
You
was a
can't
gladiator game,
that.
real gladiator game.
Yeah, and back
So
then, man, the players had that one face bar. They didn't even
yeah,
have a face; it was just that one bar.
yep. And they had probably 30% of the rules that they have now, and there was no, I mean, they still lived by the motto of keep your head on a swivel. There was no unprotected. You're on the field. You're here. You protect yourself. So a lot of things that era had to deal with, these guys got a luxury. It's like you're complaining about being hit because you didn't look. Back then, they expected you to be looking. Now they give you a grace, like give them the 15 yards, even though you fake your hurt and you jump up when the flag gets thrown. It just
Tom Brady said that these rules though have allowed quarterbacks to develop bad habits
yeah.
because that earlier in Tom Brady's career and back in the day, like you had to protect your receivers. You couldn't just throw the ball down the middle because they would get knocked out. Quarterbacks today, because they're so protected by the rules, that they put their receivers in harm ways with the way they throw the ball. And so Brady was saying that like, yeah, quarterback play has dipped in the last like 5 to 10 years because these quarterbacks are developing bad habits because they keep getting bailed out by the rules. And you just don't see the fundamentals anymore when it comes to quarterback play.
I agree. It's not even just that. We could get back to the basketball, and we don't. You don't see the fundamentals in that neither. It's a lot of one-on-one play, a lot of no. I mean, can't even say bad defense because some of it isn't even defense. I don't know what it is. But fundamentals in a lot of sports outside of maybe baseball, it's kind of hard to get away from fundamentals in a sport like that. But a lot of other sports, they're fundamentally flawed right now, especially the NFL, definitely the NBA. Man, the refs can't even get it right in the NFL. So
So
whole
the
game
game.
is actually flawed. But as far as the Sonics, I mean, we've touched base. I want to see them when they come back. I'll say this, and anything you want to say before we end it, let me know. I want to see the Sonics come back. Obviously, I told you I'm intrigued with Vegas, but I want to see the Sonics come back with their history, um, with their banners, with I don't know if they've probably done this, but we need a new one. Um, Ring of Honor ceremony, bring Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, um, I mean,
Deadlift shrimp.
Detlef Shrimp, any of the Hershey Hawkins, any of the guys that's still around that you could bring and have a special opening in bringing back the Sonics. That will actually give me interest to watch the NBA again. So that's all I'm asking for.
I am 1000% with you when it comes to Seattle, and hopefully they bring back the Sonics in the history. I am intrigued by Las Vegas. First of all, I wonder what they're going to even name the team,
Yeah, me too.
and then as you were saying earlier, the what colors they should pick. And then speaking before we get out of here, though, real quickly, just to touch on the Utah Jazz, so they got fined $500,000 for tanking, and they weren't even trying to hide it. So what got them in trouble was 2 games in a row, they were up by double digits going into the 4th quarter. Their 2 best players, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen, they were balling out, and the coaches decided just to bench him for the whole 4th quarter. They ended up blowing that lead and losing the game. Then they did it again, that was against Orlando, then they did it again against Miami, same thing, their 2 best players balling out, and then the coach just benched them for the whole 4th quarter, and they ended up losing the lead, but they were able to hold on because one of their backups just got red hot from 3, so they're still able to win that game against Miami. But and then all of a sudden, they put Jaren Jackson on IR because he needed a cleanup surgery. So all of a sudden, he just needed surgery, even though he's been fine this whole time. Now he needs surgery, so they put him on IR. So
Cleanup
the NBA is
surgery,
like,
like
"Hey,
2 weeks
y'all bullshitting, y'all bullshitting, so we're gonna fine you
too.
five."
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on Utah getting fined for tanking?
All right. First, I'm gonna ask you a question, then I'm gonna give you my opinion, right?
Alright.
And y'all, my question is probably gonna tell you where I'm leaning, right? Do you think the NBA fined them because it might be a little gambling thing about to hit them over the head?
I think they find them not because it's about to hit them over the head, because it already has hit them over the head. Remember, Chauncey Billups got arrested because he was betting on games. He was a coach. He was a coach of the Blazers. He
Hit
was
me,
betting on games, betting on his team to lose.
yeah,
Obviously, him being the coach, he could sit players out. He can,
yeah,
fix the
and
games any way he
hear me out,
wants.
and hear me out. I don't
All
mean
right.
the NBA as a whole. I mean the Utah Jazz. And the NBA needs to clear themselves. Say, look, we ain't got no parts of him benching players in the fourth and doing this. If you're about to slam the Jazz, we are too because it's not us. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like the NBA's way of like washing their hands of the situation. Like we ain't got nothing to do with what's going on in Utah.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna lean towards listen, if you listen to what you just said they did, and then you listen to what Chauncey Billups was doing, or who's the point guard? I'm not gonna even shoot at names right now, name the wrong person, but I know there was the one point guard that was doing it that got
Oh,
caught up.
Terry Rozier, he also got
Rozier,
arrested.
Rozier, that's what I thought it was. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah,
So
his was actually something similar too. Like he would bet like the over under on himself,
this
and then like all of a sudden he was like, "Oh, coach, my back hurts. I can't finish the game."
now what I'm telling you is it sounds the same, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's one of those things, and what I'm thinking is the Jazz might be the next team to get caught for the gambling, and the NBA needed to, like you said, they needed to wash their hands. Like, look it, I know they're about to get slammed because I see this all types of weird shit going on. Let me just get 500 because I think you tanking. So when the gambling comes, you go like, oh, I knew it was something. I just didn't know it was that. You see what I'm saying? So I think this is gonna go. I think that I just say this. I don't think we've heard the last of this story with the Utah Jazz in the NBA or just the Utah Jazz in general.
Well, I'll give Utah the benefit of the doubt because from what I've heard, this draft class is supposed to be really deep. Like it's supposed to be one of the best draft classes that we've had
So
in
you
a long
buying it?
time.
You buying what they selling?
No, I actually kind of agree with you, but I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt because two reasons. Number one, it's a deep draft class,
Yeah,
but
it
number
is.
two, they're in a tricky situation. So if their pick is between 1 through 7, because remember
Okay.
the NBA does a lottery, it doesn't go by your record, it's a
Yeah.
lottery.
Yep.
So if their
Right.
pick is one through
Goes
seven,
by rigged luck of the draw.
yes. So if it's 1 through 7, Utah gets to keep their pick.
Yeah.
If it's 8 through 30, their pick goes to Oklahoma City. So
Yeah.
because of that, it actually benefits them to lose because they want to keep their pick. They don't want their pick to go to OKC. So from that standpoint, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because, like, yeah, it makes sense because, like, if you're Utah, it's like, okay, these two players, they're playing so good that we're gonna fuck around and win games that we're not trying to win. We're trying to lose because we want to keep our draft pick. And so, like, it benefits us. It benefits them to keep losing. So in that sense, it makes sense because you want to keep your draft pick, especially in a draft that is very deep. And even if they don't get the number one pick, even if they get the top 5 pick, you're bound to get a franchise player. And
Yeah.
and you add them with Ace Bailey, who they drafted last year, who everybody thought was going to be the number 2 pick. He dropped to 5 because he made it known that he didn't want to play for none of the teams. He wanted to either go to Brooklyn or Washington. And Utah was like, "Hold my beer, because we're drafting you. We don't care if you like it or not.
Oh my
You come to
bad.
Utah, yeah, you coming to Utah with these white folks, whether you like it or not."
Big facts. Big facts. But yeah, he's a good player, man. They need to definitely build around him. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they got a squad because like they're beating teams. It's just that they're pulling them out in the fourth quarter to make sure that they lose. Like in the fourth,
Yeah,
all of
but
a sudden the fourth quarter comes around, we're gonna put all our backups in.
that's the most confusing part because they look like they got a young core that could build off of. So what do you like? Why do you? I know the draft's deep, and that is a little something to definitely think about because NBA drafts in deep usually don't that word usually isn't involved
Right.
in NBA drafts. So that's definitely a big point of discussion. We should deep dive on that on another episode. But with that being
We
said,
can we
though,
can we could definitely get into that because I mean March Madness is coming up, so we get to see all these players and see if they're
Yeah.
good enough. What we
Yep.
think.
Yeah, we got a deep dive on that. But as far as the Jazz, it's like I feel like you got a good enough team right now to at least you like shoot your shot. Like see where you're really at. Like obviously you need more, but it's not like tanking is gonna make you like jump over a mountain. It's like you got to see what you got right now because even if you brought in, just let me be nice, if you bring in two really good players, and that's like most teams are not bringing in two really good players out of the draft. It's once in a while, right? But say you bring in two really good players and a role player, right? I feel like you got a decent team right now, but you got to see what you have before you let those players start walking out the door, and you just keep getting in this mode where it's rinse, repeat, reset, rinse, repeat, reset. Like you got some young players, see what they could do.
Yeah, now the thing about Utah is that if they weren't like, sitting out players in the fourth quarter
Yeah,
or putting players on IR with Fugazi injuries,
yeah.
like they could be like a maybe a seventh or eighth seed in the playoffs, maybe.
And that's my thing, because sometimes what I think some of these teams, or just not teams, say like owners maybe, or coaches, whoever you want to blame, that's your preference, or GM, whatever, right?
I say their GM, because their GM is Danny Ainge, and that's another reason why I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because Danny Ainge built that Boston team
Yeah,
basically through the draft, so Danny Ainge knows what he's doing. It's
yeah,
just he's being too obvious with it.
yeah. I just look at it like this: if you let a young team get in on the eighth seed, seventh seed, and you got young dudes that are still haven't fully hit their ceiling, because maybe some of them haven't, maybe some people you don't know have another ceiling they're gonna get to that you just didn't expect. It happens. For me, if you let them sneak in on the eighth seed, they might surprise you, win a couple of series, get some confidence, and you realize you got three you know, really good players on your team right now. You know what I'm saying? In the
Yeah, no,
playoff
that's what I was about to, sorry to cut you off, but,
run.
that's what I was about to say because like, obviously you live close to Boston, so, like,
Yeah,
I don't remember, the Celtics, tanking before they got Tatum and Brown, like, I remember they're still competitive when they had Isaiah Thomas.
yeah,
They
they've
just
been.
made some good trades to where they were able to get those top picks to
Yeah,
get Tatum and Brown. So I'm
yeah,
kinda surprised that Danny Ainge goes to Utah, and instead of following the same format he had in Boston, he just decided we're tanking this year.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something he really wants in next year's draft. Like I know sometimes there's coaches that identify a player that they want to build. They see like this player is the core piece for them to build. They might see they have some pieces, but they need this player. And if that's his intentions, cool. But I mean, at the same time, sometimes throwing away seasons waste the talent that you have, and you see them go somewhere else and blossom. So I would just prefer letting them go out and play their hearts out and see what they got.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you because, like I said, I'm trying to think right now, but I can't remember the year where the Celtics were just bad. Like the reason why they were able to get Tatum and Brown was because they fleeced the Brooklyn Nets
Hmm.
and traded old ass KG and Paul Pierce for a bunch of draft picks, and they used those draft picks to get um, Tatum and Brown. Now
Yeah,
Utah, they don't have a KG or a Paul Pierce, so maybe that's why he's tanking because there's nobody on his roster he could just trade to get a shit ton of draft picks right now.
yeah,
So
that
maybe that's
that
why
is
he's doing
true.
it differently. But the way he built the Celtics, I thought he maybe would do the same thing with the Jazz, just try to be competitive and then luck into some draft picks
Yeah,
later on down the line.
and Utah is just another one of those teams that are stuck in the mud for a while. But with that being said, man, let them know where to find us, my brother.
All right, man. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spreaker. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, and you can follow us on X/Twitter at Mob Squad 508 for Mike, and at Expected Ant for myself. We should make a Mike and Ant profile too on X.
Nah, we definitely need to.
Yeah. And then yeah, Mike, the sponsor. Maybe some of
Like,
the Utah players can use some W energy in the fourth quarter to stay awake, or to sit
eh,
on the bench.
any Utah players that don't agree what's going on, you're falling asleep on the bench, reach out to me on X. I'll send you over a free tub. I got you. All you got to do is share my QR code on your page. For anybody else that needs W Energy, go on over to the QR code, put in Mob Squad 508 for the discount code, get 10% off all purchases. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we out, man. Till the next show.
Be out, man.
Bring back them Sonics, man.
Yeah, OKC do the right thing and give Seattle back the Sonics.
Release those rights.
Yes.